This is a quick video tutorial on TradingView specifically to show you how I use it in PowerTrader Live. Now, if you're just finding this video randomly on YouTube, I encourage you to watch it. You may learn a thing or two about TradingView, and you may find that you want to come give us a try in PowerTrader Live. If that's you, I'll put a link in the description below so you can start a trial. Now let's jump on in here. First things first, you need to get a TradingView account if you don't have one already. That's the software I use for all of my charting. Go to tradingview.com. I'll put that link in the description as well. And you can get started right away by using their product called Super Charts. Now there's a couple drawbacks if you don't at least set up an account and consider even getting one of their paid accounts. The biggest drawback is you're not going to be able to save any analysis on your charts. Additionally, if you don't have a paid account, it gets ad supplemented, and so you'll be constantly closing down ads that pop up. I don't mind what you decide to do, but I think their paid versions are very, very inexpensive for the value that you get. This is our primary tool that we use as traders, so I'd go ahead and get their paid version. To that point, if you come down here and click where it says get started, you'll see several different plans that are available. I would start with the least expensive plan, and then if you find limitations that you run into, you can upgrade from there. But get started with the $13 a month plan. Now I'm going to go ahead and get logged into my chart and show you how I set it up and how I use it in PowerTrader Live. Okay, now I'm logged in and I've navigated to the super chart, and the first time you pull it up, it's going to look something like this. I've reset it back to the defaults. Now you might like black charts with green and red candles, and that's okay. Personally, I do not. You'll see me using white charts with black and white candles, and that's because number one, that's what I learned to trade on, and so it looks most normal to me. Number two, as I'm creating content and courses for students, it makes it a lot easier to share notebooks if the charts are white instead of black. So the way you can change this is by coming over to your little circle up here. Mine has a picture of myself in it, and you can switch from dark theme to light theme. Now we've got a white chart, but there's still green and red candlesticks. And if you like green and red candlesticks, then that sounds wonderful. But if you want to switch it to black and white like I use, right click on your chart, come down to the bottom where it says settings, and then you can go into symbol and change the color of your candlesticks. Body for white or for green candles will turn white, and for red candles, I don't go straight black. I go 1, 2, 3 black swatches over from solid black and make it essentially a dark gray. Now our borders and wicks are all going to be dark gray, that same color, 3 over from the right. Same thing for our down borders, 3 over from the right. And our wicks, of course, are going to be 3 over from the right and 3 over from the right. Now we have a white chart with black and white candlesticks. And this is what you're going to see mine look like when you join PowerTrader Live. Now, maybe you're not even familiar with candlesticks yet, and you're thinking, I thought this was going to be a line chart. We have that too. Come up here to the top and you can click on the line chart. If it doesn't show up in your favorites, click this little down arrow and you'll be able to select one of any kind of chart you want. There's so many in here. Don't let it overwhelm you. Focus right now on the line chart and the candlestick charts. Now, you'll see something interesting, and this is going to come back a lot. Every now and then there's a star that shows up. Sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're invisible, or they're hollow, we might say. That's what TradingView uses to differentiate a favorite. So I've got my line chart favorited, I've got my candlestick chart favorited, and I've got my Fibonacci candlestick chart favorited as well. So if you want to make your line chart pop up in the menu up here, put the yellow star on it. Click on the yellow star. Same thing with your candlesticks. And if you want to, you can go ahead and select the Fibonacci candlestick chart for good measure. Now I'm going to show you around TradingView, but we can't take 2 hours and go into depth in every single feature that's in here. So this is going to be a high-level overview. Once you complete your PowerTrader trial, we'll give you some additional resources and information, and even some of my indicators and scans that I use. But for now, let's look at the basics. I'm going to go back to my candlestick chart, and I want to point out probably the most well-used tool in technical analysis, and that's our line tool. You can see it over here on the left. In fact, this whole bar on the left-hand side, I tend to think of as things that draw or things that mark up the chart. In the top left-hand corner, we've got our line, and this is as it sounds. You can draw lines on the screen. If you hold the Shift key down, it'll snap to sideways or 45 degrees. If you release the Shift key, you can draw to any angle that you want. We can drop our line and then double click on it and change any settings on here. If you want to have a different color than blue, more power to you. You can pick any color in the rainbow that you want. If you want a different thickness, you can change the thickness, different style, you can change the style down here. I encourage you to do this. Be a fearless clicker. You can't mess TradingView up because there is a reset to default key. I know that because I just reset it so I could walk you through this process of getting it set up. So be a fearless clicker, click all around, and if you need to reset it and start over again, there's no harm or no foul in that. Once you have the line you like it, click OK. And here's the fun fact. Let's do it this way. I'll change my color to red. And the next time I use that tool, guess what? It's going to be the same color. It remembers your last setting. Now, the line tool is something we use a lot, and we just learned about favorites. If we kick the little arrow out that's on the side of the line tool, you'll see those yellow stars show back up again. Some of them are hollow and some of them are colored in yellow. I would encourage you to click the star on your trend line and put that in your favorites. But where do your favorites go? I'm so glad you asked. Down here in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a hollow star. And if we click that, it's going to bring up a toolbar that comprises all of my favorites. So here you can see I've got my trend line tool in the favorites bar. I've got other tools in here like my Fibonacci retracements and my long and short positions and my favorite tool, the box tool, or rectangle as TradingView calls it. Any tool that you use periodically, you can put in your favorites and you can turn that on or off. If it's getting in your way, go ahead and turn it off. I usually leave mine on and put it right down here at the bottom of the screen. The next thing I want to show you, back up to this menu, click the little caret to the right. There is a parallel channel tool. This is very, very helpful. You'll see us use this a lot in TradingView, so much so I have it favorited. The difference between the trend line and this tool is that the parallel channel tool, when you drop it, click the second time on your chart, it creates a second parallel channel, as you would expect from the name. Now you'll notice there's a couple red lines and red dotted lines in here. If you double click on your indicator, the parallel channel indicator, you'll see that you've got the option to add some Fibonacci subdivisions. 50% is the middle, 0.386 and 0.618 are the Fibonacci subdivisions. So I have all of those checked. You will see us use that many, many times, and that's my default setting. I keep the 50% as the dotted line, and then the 386 and 618 as a light red line. In fact, you see it looks like there's some checks in that box there. That's because the opacity is turned down to 25%. So I would go ahead and favorite that tool as well. You'll be using that quite periodically. Another tool that we use a lot is the positions tool. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indicators down. Click the little caret to push out the menu, and you've got right up top here the long and short position. Again, I would go ahead and favorite those and add them to your favorites toolbar. This is what the long and short position look like. Here's the long down in my favorites toolbar. And let's just say as I'm recording this, the S&P 500 is crashing. It's all the talk of the news right now. But let's say you wanted to get into a long position, which I don't recommend right now on this. But for sake of time and argument here, let's imagine the red at the bottom is where my stop is and the green is where my target is. There's a lot of valuable information that shows up in this position tool. You can see here, risk versus reward ratio, 4.79. If you're familiar with our R's system of risk management, this is your R. That's the size of your R. That means essentially we've got almost 5 times as much profit as we are risking right here. Down here in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the size of your stop. That's going to be helpful as you enter your order with your broker. Here you can see the size of your target. Same thing. You can put your target in very easily with your broker. There's a lot of information that's on this tool. We use it quite a bit when we're setting up trades. The inverse of this tool is, as you guessed, the short position. Let's imagine we're here. We're like, oh, the S&P is crashing. It's going all the way down, all the way to 654. And I'd put my stop way up on it here. Again, you can see your risk reward ratio is 1.05. That means your stop is about the same size as your target. And you'll use this number as you're calculating your position size using the R system of risk management. So those position tools are very, very helpful. The next tool I use quite a bit is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 icons down on our drawing toolbar. Click the little caret to push the menu out, and come down to your rectangle tool. I use this tool probably more than I should. Go ahead, add that to your favorites as well. Select the rectangle, click and drag on your screen, and here's your rectangle. Similarly to our channel tool, you can also add a middle line. They don't have the Fibonacci lines on this. It'd be nice if they did, and I bet they'll add that someday. But there's the middle line, and you can also select your colors. I keep mine green by default, but I'll switch this to red sometimes. And then my background is also green, but you can see it's set to 17% opacity. That's the rectangle tool. Last tool that you will see me use quite a bit is the Fibonacci tool. 1, 2, 3 icons down, and the Fibonacci retracement tool with the gold star. And I use several Fib tools, but by far, the Fibonacci retracement tool is the one that I use the most, and this is probably the most uniquely set up to me. Go ahead and pause this video, take a screenshot of that, and just fill in all the numbers. But there's a lot that repeats here. So you'll see 0.382, 0.618, and 0.5, and those are all in green. So that's these three lines right here. Then all I do is repeat beyond that. So you've got 1.382, 1.5, and 1.618. Then 2. My whole numbers are in black or gray, and then the numbers in the middle I do in colors. So in the 200 series, 2.382, 2.5, 2.618, that's kind of a red or salmon color, and so on and so forth. We're going to use these for measuring retracements. We're going to use these for measuring extensions. I use fibs quite a bit. You'll see a bonus line in here, that 764. I use that from time to time. By default, I usually leave it on because we will reference that as part of our morning glory strategy at the beginning of the trading day. But that one is not part of my core Fibonacci analysis protocol. Those are most of the drawing tools that you'll see me using in PowerTrader. Next, let's take a look at some of the indicators. The indicator I use the most is stochastic, and you'll hear me talk about this in PowerTrader. It's kind of my gauge to see when stocks go on sale. So let's assume that you don't have that on your screen, and I'll show you how to add it. Come over here to this icon. It looks kind of like a bar chart with a line over it, and you can just click that to bring up a menu and start searching. It's stochastic, singular. Some people like to say stochastics. A little bit of a pet peeve of mine. Don't do that. Be smarter than that. The stochastic oscillator. Click on that. You can see now it's in my favorite section because I have added that star, which I'm just realizing is not a gold star. I feel like everything's changed right now. It's a black star. But you can add any of these indicators that you want. Again, click on them, and I guess it'll become a black star instead of a gold star. Since yours won't be in favorite, you want to come down here to where it says technicals. Those are indicators that are made by TradingView. You can bet that they are going to be accurate, to be contrasted with indicators that are in the community, which may be interesting, but not necessarily accurate. And we at Tradesmart have indicators that are in the community, and they're amazing. But for the purposes of having a standard stochastic oscillator, use the one that's in the technicals section. Go ahead and add that to your favorites, and I've already clicked it and added it to my chart. By default, this is what it will look like. I think that's ugly, and I like charts that look good. So I'm going to show you a different way to edit this. You could just hover over one of the lines and double click on it, but you can also come over here to the left. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, and hover over those words and see how it brings up some menus. There's an eyeball. We could turn this on and off. And then there's a hexagon. The hexagon is always settings in TradingView. Then the curly cues are the source code if you want to see how this thing is actually programmed, or you could remove it altogether. But let's come back to this hexagon where it says settings and pull this up. And one big change you're going to want to make is this number right here. By default, stochastic is known as, you would say 14, 1, and 3. I want you to change this 1 to a 3. And what that's going to do is smooth out this blue line just a little bit. It will make it less herky-jerky and give us less false signals, in my opinion. So we're going to move that to a 3. Now, I still think this looks ugly. So let's come over to style. That's where everything changes. The %K, we're going to go ahead and make that gray, not black, but let's come over 3. You could even come over 4 if you wanted to really live life wild. And oops, I closed that too fast. I'm going to make it thick. Not the thickest, but second to most thick. If you want to, you could make it the most thick. but I like this one. I think the third one over looks pretty good. Now the orange, I'm gonna make that more of a gold and also set it to thick. And the rest of this looks pretty good. I don't mind though that blue background, but if you wanted to change that, let's say you were feeling more green or purple. My wife's favorite color is purple. Maybe you want to make it purple and a little less opaque. You could make it super purple. Again, we're dangerously close to not looking good anymore. So I'm going to put that back to wherever it was, about 19. And how about, I like the blue. And I already got it messed up. There we go. That's the stochastic. Now, what you might want to do is save this as a default. And I know what you're saying. You're like, well, Josh, if I save that as the default, how am I going to put it back? You click reset settings and you can go back to the way it used to be. So you can save that as your default. I'm not going to do that because I have my default already saved in there and I don't want to overwrite that. So there is our stochastic oscillator. Now, once you have that stochastic oscillator set up, you're probably not going to want to have to do that process every single time you want to look at stochastic. Wouldn't it be nice if you could click a button and just go to the stochastic screen? I'm glad you recommended that because that's called a template and it's found up here where these 4 dots are. And you can see I've got several templates, and when you join the full power trader after your trial, we'll walk you through these templates and help you set all of them up. But for now, we're gonna save this stochastic template by clicking those 4 dots and then saving indicator template. Now you don't want to remember the symbol. If you were to click that, every time you go to your stochastic template, it's gonna take you back to this symbol. We're currently on ticker symbol SPY. So don't remember the symbol and don't remember the interval. That's what time period you're on. Are you on a daily chart, a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute chart? Again, when we look at stochastic, we want to stay on the symbol and stay on the time frame. So therefore, we're not going to remember any of that. And then you name it. So I would name it something fancy like, oh, stochastic. Now you can see I've got a number 3 here in front of mine, and that's because when I learned to trade and more specifically learned to chart, I used to push buttons, the numbers on the top of my keyboard, and they correlated to different templates. And that's just how I learned. So I've continued to carry on that nomenclature. If you want to match me exactly, then stochastic is number 3 in my templates. Also, it should be noted that up here, the favorites are organized alphanumerically. It starts with numbers and then it goes to the letters. So if you want to work through them in a particular order, like a blank chart, a simple moving average chart, an exponential moving average chart, stochastic that we're working on now, then you might want to number them accordingly. So I'm going to just call this test 3 stochastic because I think I have some other tests in there, and we'll save it. Now, once that's saved, come back up here to your 4 squares, click Open Template down here on the bottom, and then we can go find that. And if we have too many to search through, we can look for test 3, except you won't have test 3. You'll write in the name of yours, and then hover over it, and look, there's one of those stars, and we can click it, and we're back to gold stars again. And that puts a little T up here, which you can see is alphanumerically in order on my favorites bar. They also will let you put little emojis on there, which is kind of fun as well. So one proven system set up, the Morning Glory, which is a trade you'll see me do on Monday in Power Trader, the Mega Mover strategy, so on and so forth. So I'm gonna de-favorite that because we don't need that on our toolbar. And now you know how to set up a template. One other template I would recommend that you set up is a blank template. So if you come back down here, hover over stochastic and click the remove, the trash. Now, if you've been following along, you should be on a blank chart. If not, pause this video and clean up your chart, go to a blank chart. You don't have to delete your analysis, but delete any indicators that are on there. And then I would save that as its own template. Save indicator template or lack thereof indicator template. And so in my world, this is 0-Hesse blank. I'm not gonna overwrite it. So we could say 0-blank. Well, I don't need to resave it. You don't need to remember the symbol. You don't need to remember the interval. You'll click save and then you'll come back up here, open your templates, look for 0 and put a star next to it. If you've been tracking along, the way that your TradingView should look is you should have 2 favorites up here. One of them is your blank template. One of them is your stochastic template. Those are the ones that we're going to be using a lot of. couple other things to show you, and then we'll get you on your way. On the lower right-hand corner is what's called the screener. Once again, you continue on into the full paid power trader. I'll be glad to send you my Fibonacci scanner and the Mac Daddy scanner, all these scanners that I use. But this helps me organize and identify trades much quicker rather than looking through all 7,000 stocks. Currently, there's 59 stocks that might qualify for the Fibonacci strategy. And I can zip through these pretty fast and then visually determine if it's a qualified trade or not. So you'll be using that scanner. It looks like a little radar screen down here. Skip this one. This is if you're a nerdy programmer. Whenever I make custom indicators, you use the Pine script editor for that. But down here is calendars, and this is very interesting. You can see on calendars economic information that's coming up, earnings information. We're in the middle of earnings season right now. And so here's all the companies that are reporting earnings today. You could look at companies that are reporting revenue, dividends, an initial public offering. But I usually keep this on economic data because I want to not be surprised if some kind of news comes out, especially in the morning when we're placing trades. So we'll always check that calendar right before I start placing trades. Here it is in the lower right-hand corner. Last thing to point out to you, in the very upper right-hand corner are your watch lists. And I've got different ones that are set up. You can create a whole new watch list if you want. Just call it My Favorite Watch List. Or what's also interesting, if we come back down here to our scanner, you'll see that there's a little flag here next to Microsoft. In this case, it's a pink flag, but there's not one next to NVIDIA. If I were to click on that, it brings up a color chart here, and I can assign a flag to this. So I think teal is not being used right now. We could put a teal flag there. And then if we come back out to our watch lists, this little bookmark looking thing in the upper right hand corner, you can see that there are flagged lists or lists based on the flag color. So if I go to the cyan list, oops, it did exist already. I'm messing up my watch list here. So let's get rid of NVIDIA. So I'll click that flag again, and then it disappears. Those are the flags. Now there's so much more. Literally, I could spend probably 4 hours together with you and go over TradingView, but that's going to be too much right now. I just want you to get familiar with some of those tools. And even if you're not familiar, if you feel a little overwhelmed now, come to Power Trader on Monday and watch me use these tools, and it will start to make sense as you see me using them in real time. And of course, if you have any questions about it, be sure to ask them in the live session. That's what the session is live for, and I'll be glad to slow down and explain a little bit more carefully what I'm doing. That's it for now. I'll see you on Monday in Power Trader. I'm so excited you're there. If you have any questions, email us info@tradesmartu.com, and we'll be glad to help you out. Blessings and favor on your trades.